We tend to think of the human brain as this perfect, elegant supercomputer, right? A sleek, powerful machine that's the absolute pinnacle of evolution, running everything with flawless efficiency. But what if that whole picture is just completely wrong? Okay, let's dive in.
So, neuroscientist Dean Burnett puts it a little more bluntly. The whole idea behind his work is that our brain, while, yeah, it's undeniably impressive, is also incredibly messy, totally disorganized, and frankly, a bit of an idiot. And these little imperfections, they influence literally everything we say, do, and experience. So in this explainer, we're going to shatter that myth of the perfect brain together. We'll look at 3 key ideas from Burnett's research that show the funny, counterintuitive, and honestly, just plain weird ways our heads are actually wired.
And it's this contrast that is so fascinating. We imagine this sleek, flawless machine, but the reality is an organ that's been built on evolutionary shortcuts and messy compromises. It's not perfect, it's just good enough to have gotten us this far. So let's start with our first piece of evidence for this messy reality.
All right, first up, the notoriously unreliable system we all call human memory. I mean, if the brain's a supercomputer, it's one that is constantly misplacing files.
Oh, we have all been there. You stride confidently into a room. You're on a mission, only to get there and have absolutely no clue what that mission was. It is one of the most common and maddening quirks of our memory.
So what's happening? Well, it turns out your brain has 2 very different memory systems that don't always communicate well. That brilliant idea to grab your keys is living in your short-term memory, but literally any tiny distraction, like your phone buzzing, can just knock it right out before you've had a chance to act on it.
Just think of your short-term memory as your brain's conscious desktop. It's the space where you're actively juggling thoughts. But, and this is key, it has absolutely zero staying power. The analogy of writing on cappuccino foam is perfect. 1 second it's crystal clear, the next, poof, it's gone.
And here is the real kicker. The capacity of that workspace is tiny. We used to think it could hold about 7 items, but newer research suggests it's actually closer to this, 4. Our brains can only consciously juggle about 4 pieces of information at any one time. That's it, just 4. And that massive difference, it explains so much. Your short-term memory is this tiny, frantic, active workspace, while your long-term memory is a vast, quiet warehouse. And it's on that tricky journey from the tiny desk to the giant warehouse that so many things, like the reason you walked into the kitchen, just get completely lost.
Okay, let's move to our next exhibit, our ancient survival instincts. These systems were absolutely brilliant for, avoiding saber-toothed tigers. But in our modern world, well, they tend to misfire spectacularly. This is the brain's better safe than sorry approach in all its glory. You're lying in bed, your brain sees a vague shape in the dark and immediately leaps to the absolute worst-case scenario. It's not interested in being accurate. It's obsessed with keeping you alive, even if that means having a full-blown panic over a pile of laundry.
This hilarious overreaction is all thanks to the fight or flight response. It's an unconscious reflex that kicks in before your logical brain has even had a chance to weigh in. The information hits the primitive, ancient parts of your brain, which sound the alarm way before the more modern, conscious parts can go, hey, wait a second.
And this response is incredibly demanding on your body. Your whole system goes into combat mode. Heart pounding, muscles tense, digestion just shuts down. Now that's great for escaping a real threat, but it is wildly inconvenient when it's triggered by something like a balloon popping at a party, leaving you all tense and shaky for absolutely no logical reason.
And for our final piece of evidence, let's look at how our brain acts like a totally biased narrator, constantly editing our memories to make sure we're always the star of our own show.
This is called egocentric bias. See, your brain isn't a passive, objective recorder of events. Oh no, it's more like a personal PR agent, subtly tweaking and reframing your memories so that you always come out looking a little more reasonable, a little more influential, and just, well, better.
I mean, here's a classic example we've probably all done. When you think back on a group project or a big decision, people almost always remembered their own contributions as being way more central to the final outcome than they really were. It's just our brain editing the past to give us a little ego boost.
And this is where it gets really fun. Think about any argument you've ever had with someone. Thanks to this egocentric bias, it is almost guaranteed that you and the other person have completely different recollections of what actually happened. Both of you genuinely remember being the calm, rational hero of the story. It's not that one person is lying, it's that both of your brains are.
So why? Why is our brain like this? So forgetful? So jumpy?
So egotistical? Well, it's not really bad design. It's more like a messy history of assembly.
The truth is, our brain isn't one cohesive unit. It's a jumble of parts that have been bolted on over different evolutionary eras. You've got these ancient, reflexive parts trying to run the whole show, while the newer, more analytical parts act like some kind of inefficient micromanager, constantly interfering and second-guessing everything.
But here's the thing. Acknowledging that your brain is kind of an idiot isn't an insult. It's actually a superpower. It helps you understand why you do weird things, why you forget stuff, why you overreact. It gives you a much more forgiving and realistic perspective on yourself, and really on everyone else around you too. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Because by recognizing these quirks, we can actually start to work with our messy, brilliant, idiot brains instead of constantly fighting against them.